Cincinnati has been the talk of the college football world this week after being disrespected in this week's national rankings. Tonight, fans will get to see the Bearcats in person for the first time as they play for a conference championship. Coming up, we'll have some friends join us to break down tonight's big game between the Bearcats and Tulsa. Plus, a former Bearcat is dealing with the aftermath of a fire that devastated his family. Hear from him and find out how you can help. Welcome everyone to Saturday's Showdown. I'm Reggie Wilson. UC is trying to win the conference championship tonight, and the game will be live on WCPO 9. Kickoff is just after 8 p.m. inside Nipper Stadium, and that's where we find our guy, Caleb No. He's going to join us throughout the show, and let's go to him right now. Caleb, are the fans there yet?
Hey, Reggie, I'll tell you what, man, when I got here to campus and when I parked and got out of my car, the first thing I heard was a big woo from fans. And it's like you don't really realize how much you appreciate that type of thing until you haven't heard it for a few months and you hear it for the first time. I'll tell you, it's a little rainy, it's a little chilly, but fans are excited. They're here at the game. They're getting to see this team for the first time in person this season. Now, I will tell you, that excitement is mixed with a little bit of maybe feeling on edge right now, feeling a little ticked off after this week's college football playoff rankings came out on Tuesday. Bearcats fans have a good reason to be upset right now. Take a look here at the rankings. Cincinnati dropped back one spot from number 8 to number 9 because they didn't play. Meanwhile, Florida only dropped back one spot too from number 6 to number 7 after they lost to LSU last week. And LSU's been bad this season. I mean, I could go on and on. I could talk about Iowa State too for about an hour. I won't do that. The fact is here, the disrespect towards Cincinnati is undeniable. Now, I want to welcome in our good friend Mo Egger here from 700 WLW. Mo, when you saw these rankings released on Tuesday night, what was the first thing that jumped out to you?
It's confirmation of what we already knew. And frankly, it's confirmation of what we knew well before UC jumped into the conversation this season, which is a group of 5 school is never going to qualify for the college football playoff. And the people who run this thing will go to whatever length they possibly can to exclude a school from a group of 5 conference. The fact that Florida fell one spot, it's one thing to lose. They lost to a terrible team that was out without a bunch of guys who said they weren't going to play in a bowl game this year in their own building. And they bumped them one spot. One spot.
Always good to hear from our friend Mo Egger. Look, if anybody's going to tell it straight, that guy will tell it straight. We already mentioned there will be fans here at the stadium tonight. Originally, Cincinnati thought there would only be 1,500 allowed, but the state of Ohio changed its mind earlier this week, and they said they will now allow close to 6,000. And Cincinnati said the tickets are sold out. You might, if you think that's not important to the team, just ask Coach Luke Fickell. He knows to the exact number how many fans will be here tonight.
58-31, I think, to be exact. But no, it is really, when it came out the other way the other day, a couple of the guys on the team said something to me. So I know, they know what's going on. To at least create and have a little bit of an atmosphere for all that they've sacrificed and done this year, I'm really excited for them. And I know they are as well.
And that's coming from a head coach in Luke Fickell who likes to play off hype and things like that, but he is excited to see fans here tonight. Let's go back to Reggie in the studio now. Reggie, a big key tonight for the Bearcats if they want to win is for their quarterback to play well, and he has for most of the season.
Yeah, Caleb, Desmond Ridder graduated 2 weeks ago, and he's already engaged, and he will soon be a father to a baby girl. And on the football field, the Bearcats are riding the recently crowned AAC Offensive Player of the Year toward big things in their future as well.
One-on-one, I'm undefeated, never lost.
You know what they say about opinions.
They don't make any sense.
Everybody has one.
Can he make the throws that this team needs him to make?
I'd like to say hello to my mom.
Here in Cincinnati, that's especially true about Bearcats junior quarterback Desmond Ridder.
I've lent my voice to that chorus.
After struggling through the first 3 games this season, including a 3-interception performance against South Florida,
the doubters about Desmond Ridder have sort of come to a head.
The popular opinion was that maybe he should be benched.
He struggled throwing the ball, particularly throwing the deep ball early this year. And the last game they played against USF, it was, I think, when healthy, that might have been the worst game he's played.
Maybe the opinion that matters the most is his head coach, Luke Fickell, who never wavered in his support for QB1.
He loves the game of football and studying the game of football and all about the game of football. He is a student of the game, which is why I think he's got a bright future.
Ridder responded with a 4-touchdown game against number 16 SMU, highlighted by running for 179 yards.
I knew from, obviously starting for 25, 26 games or whatever it was, an expectation that I had set for myself and set for the team. So when I wasn't meeting those expectations, I knew that something had to step up and something had to get going.
In his last 5 games, Ritter is playing some of the best football of his college career. Justin Williams from The Athletic opines, it's all about confidence.
He's one of those guys, if the game starts out well, he can kind of keep it moving.
Stick with it, bro.
The old cliche is that players don't listen to the noise, but Ritter's high school coach, Will Wolford, thinks differently.
When Dez has struggled at Cincinnati, he's hurt people. He's read it. He remembers. Just made him work that much harder. It makes it that much sweeter when he's had the games. He's been the best player in football.
Now Ritter has a chance to play a major role in arguably the most important game in UC football history, in a season that could go down as one of the best in school history.
The upside is still unlimited, and he's going to put in the work, and he's going to do better.
While Ritter may or may not be trying to win over the court of public opinion,
The game's just slowing down. I'm just going out there and being me, just playing football and enjoying the game, really just having fun with it.
he wants the W's to be his judge and jury. All right, still to come, a well-known former Cincinnati basketball player needs help after his family was devastated by a fire. Hear from him and find out what you can do to help. Plus, one of the first Americans quarantined due to the coronavirus was a former Cincinnati football player. He told us this week he feels like he had a crystal ball looking into the future. That story next.
Championship Saturday across college football, including right here in Cincinnati. The Bearcats getting set to play Tulsa here at Nippert Stadium for the American Conference Championship. Welcome back in, everybody, to Saturday Showdown. A former college football player who played his home games right here inside this stadium was one of the very first Americans quarantined, period, due to the coronavirus. That was back in January. It's December now. He told me this week, though, he's not surprised based on what he experienced almost a year ago that we are still dealing as a society with this virus.
Evans.
Football has taken Jared Evans around the world.
Lunges forward. Touchdown, Cincinnati and Jared Evans.
Football allowed me to see the whole world. Just that rock has made me more cultured.
But in January, it was something much different that brought the quarterback back to America.
I was scared. I was bleaching my door. I was wearing double masks because everybody had to wear it. Mind you, this was fairly new. So this is what they told us to do, and this is what they did.
Evans was playing for a professional team in Wuhan, China, the epicenter of the coronavirus.
I was about 5-10 miles away from that location. The way the Chinese government shut down Wuhan, I knew it was serious.
Tonight, hundreds of Americans have landed back on U.S. soil after being evacuated from China.
Evans was able to get out of Wuhan and back to the U.S., but not without 7 total weeks of quarantine.
He'll be quarantined now at bases in California.
He was one of the first Americans quarantined long before the virus ever became a pandemic.
Man, listen, honestly, it was just completely shocking.
You see people riding bikes behind me, enjoying themselves.
While he was at the military base in California, Evans documented his experience there.
I was doing something that I really shouldn't have been doing, but I knew what was needed to tell people, like, this is what's going on.
Another day on the base.
So here we are now, 11 months later, still consumed by the pandemic. The world's still a much different place than it was this time last year.
I mean, I knew this wasn't just gonna leave. And I warned people that imagine New York City completely shut down, nobody in the streets. And guess what happened? It happened.
It's not often we get a true glimpse into the future, but Evans says that's exactly what he got before most of us had any idea what we were dealing with.
Honestly, I felt like I was kind of like the guy that told the world, like, hey, prepare. And yeah, I kind of had like the crystal ball. I saw it through, and that's when I really got to my social media. I kind of was trying to say, hey, it's coming. It really is.
Yeah, Jared told me being a part of that and documenting basically his every move along the way made him feel like he has his certain little place in world history. Well, as the rain starts to come down here at Nippert Stadium, the Bearcats can make a little history of their own tonight as they play for a conference championship against Tulsa. Let's send it back to our guy, Reggie Wilson, now.
I'm joined now by Justin Williams from The Athletic. Justin, for the second straight year, the Bearcats have multiple weeks to prepare for the same opponent. This year, because of COVID-19, Luke Fickell said earlier this week that everyone is mostly through the protocols. How excited are they to play this game?
Yeah, he said earlier this week that at the time, everyone, for the most part, was through protocol, while also, he made sure to acknowledge how quickly that can change. So they were in a bad place, those couple weeks after that UCF win, just in terms of, what the roster and the staff was dealing with. And I think that's why you saw the conference ultimately cancel that game last week. But I think the hope will be that you're getting both of these teams, best two teams in the conference all season, as close to full strength as one could possibly hope.
No group of five team has ever made it into the college football playoff, but UC wants to be a part of that national conversation. What are their chances here?
Yeah, I think if they take care of business, they play the way they played all season, which in a lot of cases had them winning easily in conference play. Tulsa's better than some of those teams, but the chances of them getting to the playoff are unlikely. Even if kind of everything would have gone the way they needed it to today. But I think by winning and putting themselves in that New Year's Six Bowl tonight, what they can do is keep themselves in that conversation. It's not the same benefit as making the playoff, but it still gives you a lot of attention and a lot of publicity, which is never a bad thing.
Thanks, Justin. Cincinnati plays Tulsa tonight, so what do we know about Tulsa? Caleb's got a good friend who covers them. He joins the show in just a few minutes. Welcome back. For one former Bearcats basketball player, the last week has been a whirlwind that nobody expected. Terry Nelson's family was devastated by an apartment fire last week. WCPO's Evan Millward has been keeping up with Terry.
The building is just totally in flames, and I had 4 of my nephews in there. I had my sister, my mom, and my niece.
Bearcat basketball color analyst and former player Terry Nelson's family now faces the holidays without a home. Worse still, many are still in the hospital near Atlanta.
That's my mom.
One nephew took this video.
My little cousin.
Bystanders caught some of the boys. One broke his arm and leg. Nelson's niece broke her back. She's regaining feeling in her legs now. His sister broke her back too. A dangerous but necessary 30-foot jump.
The fire started to come through the ceiling, so the ceiling had smoke starting to come.
The cause is still under investigation, but Nelson says he knows the fire started in a different apartment.
They were all just standing in front of the window waiting, and people were running trying to get mattresses, and they couldn't wait.
Nelson told Reggie 1 week ago he's most worried about making sure his mom is taken care of.
She didn't want to jump, and then she passed out right before she jumped in his arms.
She broke her femur and ankle.
If it wasn't for her sacrifice, I wouldn't play at UC. And if I didn't play at UC, I wouldn't have played on a team that went to a Final Four, and I wouldn't have the exposure, and I wouldn't have this lifestyle. I wouldn't be on TV, and if it wasn't on TV, I wouldn't have this network of people that's donating. So I'm touched. I'm heartbroken, but I'm touched by the people that are donating and helping. So you can hear my voice crackling. I've been crying all day.
For WCPO 9 Sports, I'm Evan Millward.
Wow, we're thinking of you, Terry. Terry created a GoFundMe hoping to help his family members recover from that terrible fire. He's about 25 grand short of his goal right now. If you want to help, you can find the link to that GoFundMe on our website, WCPO.com. All right, let's go back out to the stadium. Caleb, what up? What's the buzz like on campus?
Hey, Reggie, I could tell you, but a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? Take a look at this. I think I kind of forgot what it was like to see fans at a football game. There are fans here, again, only just shy of about 6,000 fans going to be allowed in the stadium tonight, but there are fans at this football game tonight. Reggie, I want to take a look at tonight's matchup between Cincinnati and Tulsa. This game was supposed to happen like 4 different times this season, right? They were supposed to play in the regular season. Cincinnati and Tulsa never did. So here we are in the conference championship. Tulsa's only loss this season was to Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State is a top 25 team. Now, I actually have a good friend who covers Tulsa for a TV station out in Oklahoma, my guy Luke Slayball. Thanks for hopping on, man. Look, call it what it is, right? Cincinnati's a 2-touchdown favorite, and that's a lot for a championship game. But Luke, what would lead you to believe that maybe this game could be closer than that?
The fact that it is a wash defensively. You've got the two best defenses in the American Conference going head-to-head, and it'll be interesting to see how Cincinnati's powerful rushing attack matches up with the 3-3-5 that Tulsa runs. And they've got the defensive player of the year and linebacker Zaven Collins and a really good defensive line as well. Be interesting to see how they neutralize running back Jared Dokes as well as quarterback Desmond Ridder.
All right, now make no mistake, Tulsa's a really good football team. And Luke, you've seen that firsthand this season. But if I'm Cincinnati and I'm putting together a game plan, what do I need to do to beat Tulsa?
Caleb, you have to chip away at Tulsa in the first 15 minutes. Cincinnati head coach Luke Fickell alluded to this earlier this week when he said that Tulsa has a really good ability to grind teams down over the course of a game. So if I'm Cincinnati putting together a plan for Tulsa, it really lies in those first 15 minutes. So if Cincinnati can put points on the board early and put Tulsa in a hole they can't dig out of, that would be the best point of attack.
Always good to catch up with my old friend Luke Slayball. Coming up in the show, thousands of high school seniors decided where they will play college football earlier this week. But one decision was extra special for the Bearcats head coach because it was his son. Stay with us.
A live look at Nippert Stadium tonight, just minutes before the Bearcats take on Tulsa in the conference championship game. That game, of course, will be live on WCPO. Kickoff just after 8. Earlier this week was National Signing Day, where high school seniors signed to play college ball. It's a special day, but it was particularly special for head coach Luke Fickell of the Bearcats, because what you're about to see right here is not your average signing day ceremony. It's head coach Luke Fickell's son signing to play for the Bearcats. Landon Fickell is a senior at Moeller High School, but Coach Fickell said he didn't always plan to recruit his son. That is, until recently.
What our coaching staff and what this group of men have built here inside our locker room, to be honest with you, I started to realize I didn't want my son anyplace else. And you know, it's not just because of, it's surely not because of me. It's not just because we're winning, but because I want him to be around the young men we got inside that locker room.
I like it. The defense never rests for the Bearcats. Who better to ask about that unit than the coaches of the teams they've dominated? Keenan Singleton has more on the big bad Bearcats defense.
I don't know. They may be the best defense in the country.
If ECU offensive coordinator Donnie Kirkpatrick had any questions beforehand, 3 interceptions and 293 yards later were all the confirmation he needed. His boss, Mike Houston, had seen enough too.
I think they're easily the best team we've played all year.
Earth football was easy for the Bearcats defense this season. Nothing alien to them at all. The option teams, the spread teams, tempo teams, it hasn't mattered to Luke Fickell nor defensive coordinator Marcus Freeman. They've smashed them all. UC boasts the nation's 5th best scoring defense. Over the course of the season, they held 5 straight opponents to fewer than 14 points. ECU finally broke that streak. The Pirates scored 17. If Ryan Silverfield held up his right hand and counted his fingers, that would be the number of rushing yards his Memphis team had. UC smacked the Tigers up and down the field in a 49-10 win.
They physically kicked our tail up front. They won the one-on-one matchups. I want them to remember this feeling. I said this is it's a bad feeling. It should burn. It should sting. It should piss you off.
About the only running Houston could do against the Bearcats was this run-on sentence from Cougars head coach Dana Holgerson.
They're sound, they're fast, they're tough, they're physical, they're athletic. They play with great effort, and they play well together as a team.
Houston, humbled, with 93 rushing yards in a 38-10 loss. And UCF had the nation's top offense before the two met on November 21st. The Knights averaged 619 yards per game. They had just 359 in the 36-33 loss.
Really good football team. You know, they're ranked where they're at for a reason.
We'll see what Tulsa head coach Philip Montgomery has to say after today's conference championship game.
You can hear the bell behind me here. We're close to kickoff between Cincinnati and Tulsa for the American Conference Championship. If Cincinnati wants to win, they'll need that defense to be on point tonight. We are just a little while away from kickoff. Reggie Wilson.
Yeah, that game's starting soon, live on WCPO 9. Thanks so much for joining us, and of course, go Bearcats.